Questions for reflection. Our first reading for today's Holy Mass is taken from the 20th chapter of the book of Exodus. Moses is given what literally translates the 10 words, the Decalogue, or 10 Commandments from the Lord. These 10 words are pronounced by the Lord in the midst of a theophany, a revelation to Moses. The Catechism of the Catholic Church, referencing the biblical text, explains, and I quote, "The 10 words sum up and proclaim God's law. These words the Lord spoke to all your assembly at the mountain, out of the midst of the fire, the cloud, and the thick darkness, with a loud voice." And he added no more. "And he wrote them upon 2 tables of stone and gave them to me. For this reason, these tables are called the testimony." Catechism continues. In fact, they contain the terms of the covenant concluded between God and his people. These tables of the testimony were to be deposited in the ark, end quote. They are obligatory. As the Catechism further explains, and I quote, "Since they express man's fundamental duties toward God and toward his neighbor, the 10 Commandments reveal in their primordial content grave obligations. They are fundamentally immutable, and they oblige always and everywhere. No one can dispense from them. The 10 Commandments are engraved by God in the human heart." And that's paragraph 2072 of the Catechism of the Catholic Church. Do we know the 10 Commandments? Are we living them? In Psalm 19, David reminds us the precepts of Yahweh are honest, joy for the heart. The commandment of Yahweh is pure, light for the eyes. The fear of Yahweh is pure, lasting forever. The judgments of Yahweh are true and upright, every one more desirable than gold, even the finest gold. His words are sweeter than honey that drips from the comb. Thus your servant is formed by them, David says. Observing them brings great reward, end quote. Do we believe this? Or do we see the precepts, also translated as commandments, burdensome? The Gospel for today's Holy Mass is a portion of the 13th chapter of Matthew's Gospel. Jesus has just shared the parable of the sower and the seed with the crowd. Then the disciples are given an explanation. We are the disciples of Jesus today. He has sown the seed of his word and his kingdom within each one of us. The results also invite our response, our free choice. Whether that seed will find ripe soil is certainly affected by our willing cooperation with his grace. As we choose to respond to that grace and surrender ourselves to his care, formation, and assignment in the fields of the world, our life changes, and so do we. In Matthew's account of the parable of the sower and the seed, Jesus explains the parable to his disciples. What kind of soil are we?